Hello, I'm Gareth Jones. Welcome to our Huddersfield Town preview special video. Looking ahead to Saturday's match at home against Cardiff City. Town looking for their first home win since January the 10th. Bit of a complicated one due to an early kickoff with Leeds on Saturday. Our build-up at the John Smith Stadium will start on 774am and DAB digital radio around 2:20 but come 3 o'clock, that exclusive commentary will also be on 92.4 FM with Paul Ogden and our expert summariser Kieran O'Regan, so please join us for that game. Oggy, 15 games left this season, a third of it left. What should Town's aims be for the rest of the campaign?
They should aim to please their home fans for a start, because they need to make that investment for the summer and next season. It's very early days to be talking about that, Gaz, but home form has been quite inconsistent, to say the least, over the course of the season, and they're going through a bad patch at home. Leaving a lot of fans disgruntled. People in the commercial department are suffering, as are their figures, and these things all have consequences. The last two home games have been pretty catastrophic, actually. Very bad defeat against Wolves, and then before that, any defeat against Leeds United is going to bruise you. So I would like to see some consistency and some character. I'd like to see Huddersfield Town get us out of our seats at home.
Yeah, Chris Powell says it's a blip at home. He's not happy with it, but in the Championship, you aren't going to perform and win every home game. But is it the performance that needs to improve, really? Yes, they need the win in these next two home games, don't they? But it's the intensity that's been lacking that's let everyone down. Yeah,
there's been a frailty, a vulnerability, and they need to nip that in the bud, because you're going to end up losing points, valuable Championship points, as well as the other consequences that I've just mentioned. So, you come to see your team to be inspired, and to be entertained at home. And Huddersfield Town haven't really delivered that recently, but it's not that long ago since they delivered against Watford, Bolton, and the performances we keep talking about, Brentford, fantastic. So they are capable of doing it, and now they've got more personnel than they had before in the form of Ishmael Miller. So I would say there are chances, and I'm not entirely pessimistic.
An important two home games, because it's then Reading on Tuesday. Get two good results, looking up the table, climbing the table. Two poor results, and again, you've got to start looking over your shoulder. So there's a need to be intense for these two games, because it could define where they're going to finish this campaign.
The realist in me, Gaz, makes me expect one of each, actually, since you named the results. I mean, if Huddersfield Town could put together a really lovely string of 4-5 wins on the bounce, it would take them a long way up the table. That couldn't happen for any team, Cardiff included. But the very fact that they haven't produced that at all this season is why they are sitting 14th, 15th in the table. So I'm not going to moan too much about that position. You could be in much worse positions. I'll tell you this, when we left Cardiff back in August, they looked streets ahead of Huddersfield Town. The personnel are almost entirely different. All the Norwegian influence has gone, and so is the manager, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And they looked more accomplished in every department than Huddersfield Town. And now, after 31 matches, Huddersfield Town have won more games than Cardiff, scored more goals than Cardiff, and have got one more point than them. It's flabbergasting, and is actually symptomatic of what's going on in the whole division. But it's still a feather in Huddersfield Town's cap when you compare the budgets, that they are above Cardiff City in the table. So we mustn't be over-demanding or too negative about what's gone on before.
Cardiff have not won in 7 games as they come to the John Smith Stadium. This is what the Town boss, Chris Powell, makes to them.
They got points on board early on, so when you do have the blips, it helps you when maybe the results aren't to your liking. But they're a good football club. They've had their change, and Russell's come in. He's someone I know well from. He has to get used to the Championship, and I'm sure he will. Got some good players. Got some players that have played at the Premier League level. They do have their strengths. He's got to, a bit like any manager, a bit like myself, you still want to have your group of players and feel comfortable that these are your group that you're working with, and I'm sure Russell is still working towards that.
So that's Chris Powell's view on Cardiff. Will be a tough game, but an important one for Town to get the results. Joel Lynch, the only player on the physio table at the moment, which means there's options, there's strength in depth for Chris Powell finally now. Do you think he will make changes to the side that did so well in that draw at Bournemouth?
They did very well at Bournemouth defensively, Gaz, and they did all they needed to in attack. Very nice piece of improvisation by James Vaughan to turn in Jack Robinson's shot for Town's equaliser. But you couldn't base your whole season around a performance or a structure like that, more to the point, because it was a defensive structure. It worked like a dream, and Chris Powell got his strategy bang on in terms of the shape of the team that he selected. But with 2 consecutive home games coming up, I would expect him to start with 2 up front. Ishmael Miller, some of me would like to see him start, but it might be playing into Cardiff's hands because they've got 2 big centre-backs, one of whom we know intimately, Sean Morrison. And Sean Morrison is great in the air and very strong. Nahki Wells might get past him on the ground or have a better chance. Maybe bring Ishmael Miller on later. I'd go with Wells and Vaughan up front, and Town should have enough against a team that does concede goals.
It's an exciting prospect if Town can get that service to them and up that intensity. Find out if they can by listening exclusively on BBC Radio Leeds. Myself, Gareth Jones, Paul Ogden and Kieran O'Regan with that commentary from 3 o'clock on Saturday, 92.4 FM, 774 AM and DAB digital radio. But our exclusive dedicated Town build-up will start on AM and DAB from around 2 on Saturday.